Welcome back to Trigun Anime Review, Part 7. This one viewing the series' only sole film released. I should point out that the series film was released 12 years after the anime ended and 3 years after Trigun Maximum was concluded. Yes, when I looked up basically where the series could take place in the course of the anime, it's between episodes 10 and 12. 12 was a big turning point for the series. Yep. Now, in the case of this particular film, now, I did watch the English dub of this movie. Here's something I thought was really strange. We have 4 of the main characters from the Trigun series who come back for the movie. But here's something really weird. And I thought this was really strange for this particular movie. Only one of the characters actually retains the original dub actor. Yes, Vasha Stampede is still voiced by Johnny Bosch. Yep, Johnny Bosch still plays him. But for some reason, and I don't know what the explanation for this, the other 3, Millie, Meryl, and Nicholas D. Wolfwood, are all played by different actors. Don't know why, but they are. It's one of the most strangest things I have ever seen when it comes to a particular series. Oh yes. Who voices the characters? Well, in the case of Nicholas D. Wolfwood, he's voiced by Brett Hawkins, the guy known for voicing Gray from Fairy Tail. Yep, that particular character. Now, Meryl is voiced by Lucy Christian, which a lot of people know her today as the voice of Otaku from My Hero Academia, and of course the voice of Nami from the Funimation redub of One Piece. Yep. Yeah. In this movie. Now, what about Millie Thompson? She's voiced by Tina Nemrod. Yeah, this woman right here, who's known for voicing, get this, Mikasa from Attack on Titan. Yeah, that's one. And we have characters in here. Yep. One character we have is Back, voiced by the awesome John Sweeney, which is probably by far the first movie I've actually heard him in, because generally a lot of the time when I've heard this guy's voice in a series, usually he's voiced some character. Like, I meing, some of those famous characters tend to be characters like, there's Crocodile from One Piece, an absolute awesome character. Trying to think, what other characters this guy known for voicing? Let's see. There's also Bowles from I Got Kill. He also voiced Blackheart from, what was it? It was Fairy Tail. He's also the voice of the Grim Reaper from Soul Eater. He was the Marcus brother as Von Hedlum. I think he was also one of the villains of the series. Yep. Let's see. There is also, let's see. I think he was in Black Butler. I don't really remember. Let's see. I'm looking right now. Oh yeah, he also voiced Gunfall from One Piece. Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's also known for being, those of you who have fans of Academia, this guy is the voice of All for One, the main villain of the guy who's pretty much All Might's arch nemesis. Yep, the guy who's got no face, and yet he's got a mouth, and somehow he can breathe. Yeah, somehow, how the heck the guy was alive is never really explained. We also have a few other famous, and this is pretty much like a Funimation dubcast. Johnny Bosch, from I can tell, I think he was working for Viz Media at this point. I think the only reason why he reprised his character, reprised the character of Vosh this movie, my guess is because, well, despite the fact Funimation probably did want to staff it with pretty much like their own dubcast, but Vosh was an important character because how popular he is, and the fact that this is the character that launched Johnny Bosch's career. So Funimation is like, hey Viz Media, can we borrow Johnny Bosch's movie? And everybody like, what movie is that? Oh yeah, it's a movie called Trigun Bad Rumbles, and we like to borrow Jenny on Bosch because the main character was voiced by him in the original series, and he was also this is also started his career. And for Vince McMahon, he's probably like, sure, the movie, fine, whatever. Yep, that's just my personal theory of how the heck they got Johnny on Bosch to reprise his character, which he does a fantastic job with the character. I would say that for Vosh in the movie, he has got a slight update to his coat that he wears, because normally you see the series, thing is entirely red, but yeah, for the movie, it's still the same look, except they put gray under the arms for some reason. Yeah, I'm not really sure why. I'll talk more about some of the interesting stuff to do with the movie. We also have a character named Kepler, who's voiced by Ken Williams. Sonny Surratt is in this movie. Oh yeah, he voices a short guy who's somewhat of a coward. Typical Sonny Surratt stuff. Yeah, that's the thing about Sonny Surratt. Almost all the series I've seen this guy in, he always voices the same type of character. Usually the most cowardly character of the entire series. If a character's a coward, voiced by Sonny Surratt. It's probably a common trait. I think like the only character I've heard who is not technically a coward that he's voiced, which I haven't heard his voice yet for this character, is Lupin III. Yeah. Though he's also started the series. We also have a new character, Amelia Ann McFly, who's voiced by my favorite dub actors, Colleen Clickenbeard. Now, before I saw this movie, I didn't look up any images of this movie. Like, I knew Clickenbeard's voice, so I knew exactly what I was looking for. As soon as I heard her voice, this has to be Amelia McFly. And then I heard like, oh, this must be Amelia Ann McFly, because that's Colin Clickenbeard's voice. I've heard her voice in about 24 series by now, and so I know her voice, and that's her. And she's basically dressed like a Western like a female Western gunslinger, and the way she kind of looks kind of reminds me of Annie Oakley. You know, with the long trench coat. It could be typical Western style, basically how female gunslingers probably dress back in long pants, big boots. I should point out, do not double as high heels. Sometimes, basically, they do that for female characters where the boots are kind of like high heels. These look like normal boots. Not like cowboy boots per se, but normal boots basically you would see a woman would wear in real life. Her hat, first looking at it kind of looked like a firefighter hat, but it's probably just a cowboy hat with the flips, just the sides, the rim of the hat just tied up on top. But yeah, but the only one I thought was a firefighter hat because it was a symbol in front of it. Cowboy hats generally don't. I know because I actually own one. Yeah. And like there's this guy in the town, I think he was probably now I thought this guy was Ghastly because they look very similar face. Now here's kind of the thing. The movie starts out 20 years prior to the events of the series. My guess is this is probably a few years after Lost Augusta. Lost July, because they mentioned 23 years prior to the events of the series. That's when the city of Lost July was destroyed, and the blame was put on Bosch's Stampede. That's how he got his name. So he's probably been active for at least for a few years, basically with that particular name. And the movie starts out with a bank robbery. Yes, a bank robbery, which nothing unusual here. Typical Western fare. And as a matter of fact, the bank kind of looks like the way that I've seen pictures, basically how banks look like, the way they look back in the 19th century. And this bank is very accurately, visually, like, I would say the front area is like the way you would normally see it. Though, when they showed the vault, I saw the vault, I'm like, hey, that's a modern anime trope, with vaults being that freaking huge. Yes, because that's sometimes what they do with this particular series. Now, the reason why Sunset looks a little different than they do in the anime, for one thing, it's basically using the modern anime style. It's a style that basically Madhouse still uses this very day. From series I've watched, like Death Note, Hunter x Hunter, and I believe they use this style for the recent Card Captor Sakura Clear Card series. And the tech is mostly the same. Heck, this is probably the first movie I've seen to feature a regular police department. Though the way the police department looks, it kind of looks like the way their vehicles look. It kind of reminds me of Resident Evil's STARS program. Yeah, from what I've heard, the reason why some of the technology looks a little more updated than they did back in the original show, because this movie's influenced by by the Western audience of the Trigun franchise. I'm like, okay, take influence from that. That's actually kudos for them. Yeah, there's actually a box appears in the movie. They explain later what the heck it is. And yeah, basically Vosh is somehow there. Why he's at a particular bank? Eating donuts, because he loves eating frickin' donuts. So he saves Gasback from being killed by his own men, which all flee, though one of whom basically gets his face nearly crushed by him. So the rest of the movie, you see this guy. I thought this guy was Gasback, just basically a lot less muscular. No, it's the same guy, except that he apparently has got a... this is particularly quite strange. This guy basically had no facial hair in the flashback at all. And now he's got this metal thing on his head because, well, his part of him was crushed by Gasback. Yeah, Gasback is this big, huge, hulking guy. Of course, like I said, voiced by John Sweeney, who does a fantastic job voicing this character. And the way his style, basically, of voicing him, it seems like he basically took inspiration from his own style, the way he voiced Crocodile from One Piece. Because it's a very similar style. Because if you listen to how he does it here, it's very similar to how he did it from One Piece. My personal guess is because probably, and this is my personal, if I already met John Sweeney, why these two characters sound so similar? The reason? Probably because they're on the same age. Yeah, that's what Kyle Herbert told me why Bond from Blue Exorcist and Kiba from Naruto, why they sound so similar, even though it's simply him, because even though he voices over characters, why the voice sounds similar because they're on the same age. That's probably the same thing would happen with John Sweeney when it comes to this particular character. Though when people think of John Sweeney, this is a character that I don't think anybody talks about. I mean, people talk about Crocodile, or the character from Fullmetal Alchemist, or... I think that's the only two people... Oh yeah, and there's also the Grim Reaper from Soul Eater. But aside from that, this is one character that I think that people should talk about, because he's a great character. Despite the fact he's technically the main villain in the film, he is not bloodthirsty, like some other villains I've seen. And the way he voices the character and how he treats him like, basically like a character from the West, like, and who apparently, it's revealed early in the movie, he does the robberies for pure fun. Yeah, and he apparently takes the money, and it's revealed he basically takes the money from what he stole in the one robbery and finances the very next robbery. He does this a lot, basically, which is kind of weird. Yeah. Of why he doesn't really keep all the money is purely I don't know. And yeah, in case you're wondering why he looks so freaking huge, despite the fact this is a world where not a lot of characters are really not that big, my guess probably works out. And plus, he carries a big hulking gun on his arm. Yeah, it's one of those attachment glove things. Yeah, Vosh saves his life unintentionally by throwing a dime at him. Though the dime doesn't look like the U.S. currency. Probably looks like, from the way it looks like Japanese style currency. They destroy him, saves him, and he just basically breaks one of the guy's faces, and of course they get away. And he goes off, and they reveal later that he is possibly involved with the character Amelia in the most different way possible. Yeah, Amelia blames him for death of her mother. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he killed her. I'm like, how? That's one of the faults in the movie. Like, okay, you say she killed her, he killed her, but the reasoning is not actually explained, not properly per se. We pick up 20 years later, where Vosh is on a stand steamer, and he just basically just trying to cut some meat, and you see some guys hassling a smoking hot woman, basically Amelia, and you see her take off her hat, and man, she is one smoking hot woman. Oh yeah, and also this is not unusual for Colin Clickenbeer to do. To voice a woman who basically is usually center of attention because of her good looks. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this is typical Colin Clickenbeer. She always voices characters who are really smoking hot. Well, with the exception of one. Yeah, there's one character from the series Overlord who is not that attractive. Now, I have nothing against the character, but my gosh. That's the character you voice Colin Clickabeard? Really? A big hulking woman that looks like probably who should be probably in her 50s, probably say. Now, they reveal at the end of the movie, you won't believe how Amelia is. She looks like she's probably about mid to late 20s. She's actually 19. Yes, 19. She doesn't look it. She's well built for a woman her age. Yep. Vosh saves her from basically a couple guys who fire off their guns on the ship. And apparently it's actually against the rules to fire guns off on a ship. So the two guys get thrown overboard with their belongings. And Vosh spends half the movie following around Amelia because apparently he's infatuated with her. The reason? Because she's smoking hot. That's why. Follows her around. Of course, he doesn't figure out her name until he apparently... Oh, yeah. Like he mentions her name to her. And he's like, how did you know my name? Like, I read it in the hotel register. And it's implied they're two sleeping in the same room. And when they show the room later, it's like, she takes the bed and he sleeps in a chair. I'm like, Vosh, smoking hot woman. Do something with that, please. Yeah, that's what basically a lot of male viewers probably would thinking when they see this particular scene here. And of course, he kind of follows her around. Like first he touches her hand. After she basically puts her fist in his mouth, and then somehow he takes her to go and touch her. And apparently she breaks out in sort of hives, which is I read online. Apparently this is typical of people who suffer from poison oak. And she apparently sprays her own hand. So apparently she's allergic to idiotic men. Yeah. And then later on, basically, you see him touching her, like, temple. And then she goes freaking nuts over that. Oh, because he touched her. Like Amelia, he's wearing a gloved hand. So I think he touched with his bare fingers. Yeah. Now, as for the other characters, Meryl and Millie are in this town because they're hired, because their insurance agency pulled them off their Vosh gig, and they're basically ordered to protect this awful looking statue. I agree, this statue looks freaking awful. Now they do agree that they can't basically compensate for the power plant, but which he agrees with. Basically, he doesn't mind changing the total value for the power plant, but he says the statue why I want the premium for, that remains the same. Like, fine, whatever. And so they spend part of the movie trying to protect it. Well, they go to a bar where they run into Vosh and Amelia, which happen to be the only place to have two open seats. And of course, this is so funny. Vosh and Amelia get drunk, and apparently Amelia gets, like all four of them get drunk, and apparently Millie and Vosh get along so well when they're drunk. Yeah. Now, it was hinted at in the anime that Meryl basically was in love with Vosh. Something that was a little bit more than was in the manga. It was probably implied. Yeah, it was a little more implied in the anime. In the movie, or at least the series. Now, Amelia, throughout basically interacting with Vosh, she starts falling for him too. Yeah. Oh yeah, and it is pointed out though later on when Gaspek runs in later, like, hey, why do you look the same? Yeah, I'll get to that. So, like after they have their drinks and have fun, and of course are a bar fight, Millie takes Meryl piggyback right back to their hotel room. Vosh takes Amelia back to kind of their hotel room, their love nest, and he says some idiotic things. She nearly strangles him for it. And then apparently she vomits on him, apparently off screen. I mean, don't need to see that. We don't see a woman vomit on a man when she's being piggybacked by him. And then apparently he took time to take off her coat, took off her boots, and her hat, and didn't take anything else off. I mean, I get the fact taking off the coat and the boots and the hat. That's probably fine. As long as you don't take anything else off, like, I don't know, strip her naked, I think she'll be fine. Yeah. Apparently, I think he also took off her gloves, and then he basically just kind of spends the night in her room, just slouching in a chair, with the door open, mind you. And you wake up next morning, there's a note for her and a box of donuts because Vosh loves freaking donuts. I'm like, okay, you eat that much donuts and you don't put on a single pound of weight? No, I don't think it's due to the fact he's a plant. I think because he does tons of walking. And the fact he runs around so much. That's probably the reason why he's able to basically look so freaking thin. Yep. And, like, then of course, well, Gasback decides to sort of hire Wolfwood, who pops up about halfway through the movie. Yeah, and we hear his voice like, "Hey, you're not Wolfwood. You're not Jeff Nimoy." Yeah, it's Brett Hawkins. Yeah. If I mean Lucy, I'm gonna ask about that. Like, okay, why was it that this is basically movie shoes? I have nothing against basically her performance in the movie, but what was wrong bringing back the original dub cast for this particular film? They did it for Hellsing Ultimate, where that series, the characters who were in the original Hellsing's anime did come back for Hellsing Ultimate. But apparently they couldn't do it for this movie for some reason. I have no idea why. hmm Yep, and let's see what else. Um, yeah, apparently, Gasback apparently was saved by Wolfwood, just like he was saved by Vash. Some point prior, and then they run into each other later, where he's just at a vending machine trying to get a bottle of water. Yeah, a vending machine. This bottle water vending machine is basically between like two pillars. I'm like, who the heck puts a vending machine in the middle of the freaking desert? Yeah, who the heck does that? I don't know. Yep. He just picks up. Of course, he got himself a new crew in 20 years. Yeah, Brand's making a new crew. And apparently he's going to rob the town. He doesn't. Well, he did rob them something, but not their money. I mean, first he goes to a dock to steal this hovercraft, which I'm thinking, okay. Now when I saw this, I'm like, okay, that's something that that basically airports use. Yeah, this hovercraft. And then apparently he breaks down the big steel doors basically surrounding this town. And he proceeds to steal the big light bulb of the plant. And now he does kind of similar to this in the flashback. Like he's like, "Oh no, the jam is the plant." It's like, "Nah, they got backups. It'll be perfectly fine." Yeah, apparently not this town. Nope. Steals the plant, and next night they had to spend it in pure darkness. Yep. And basically Vash, Wolfwood chase him down in the car they stole. And apparently Vash is a terrible driver, and yet here's kind of the strange thing. In the episode of the anime, he drives perfectly fine. And in the movie, he's terrible at driving. I'm like, what the heck is this? Also, there's something about Wolfwood's gun. I will talk about that in a minute. Yeah, it's particularly very weird of why they changed the gun for the movie. It's never really explained. I'll get to that. And, like, they chase him down, and like Vosh takes a bullet, and he apparently falls in quicksand. They can't find him. Though Vosh is found later on by the insurance girls, who do nothing this whole movie except show up. Yeah. And then eventually, like apparently, they were told by Wolfwood and Amelia about Vosh's apparent death, and of course Gasbeck gets away, and of course she still blames Vosh for allowing the guy to live, but as we'll later, basically, it's a good reason why he let her live. I'll talk more about that. They eventually find him in the middle of a canyon with the big giant light bulb. Yep, shoots out. Oh, yeah, here's kind of the thing about. Okay, I want to talk briefly about Wolfwood's gun. Now, in the series, at the point this movie apparently taking place, his Punisher, which they refer to as a Punisher, can still basically pull out like little tiny pistols. Here, it's pretty much how it was toward the end of the series, where he basically shoot other guns. Now, it could have been they changed it between episode 10 and 12. I don't know. It's, they could have done it, but it's never actually explained of why in the world that his gun looks different. Yeah, of why it looks basically after its time skip stuff. Yeah, it's never explained why, My only guess is the reason why Madhouse did that, and this is my personal theory, because that was a look at the gun that was had at the end of the series, and you're probably thinking, wait, didn't he die in the series? Yes, he did. But luckily enough, people figured out that this takes place between 10 and 12, so that could explain why he's alive here, despite the fact he's supposed to be dead, and why this is not set after the anime, despite that coming out after the anime ended. And of course, they shoot out the place. Of course, Amelia hires Wolfwood to be her bodyguard after his contract expired with Gasback. Gasback, of course, well, I should point out, though, he does ask Vosh, like, hey, why do you look the same as you did 20 years ago? He never answers that question. Nope, he never does. He never tells even Amelia that he's a frickin' plant, or the fact that he's frickin' genius. Yeah. Now, I get not telling about the plant personality to Amelia, but you can at least tell, like, frickin' Gasback. Yeah, like, doesn't answer the question of why the heck he still looks the same as he did 20 years prior. Yeah, but fans know the reason for it. Why the movie never bothered to explain it, I have no idea. I don't know if they explain this in the sub version. I haven't watched the sub version. I watch the dub version. I like watching the dubs. So they later on, of course, he does the questions at the office, like, "Hey, did I see you 20 years prior?" Yeah, and that's when Amelia finds out that he was the idiot who saved him. Of course, he does not tell her, "Yeah, I have nothing to do with this guy. I just saved him. I was not his freaking accomplice." And of course, after the robbery, he was claimed Vash the mastermind. Yeah, he's not the freaking mastermind. He had nothing to do with that bank robbery. He just happened to be there. And just happened to save Gasback from his own men. And stop him from killing his own men. So, basically, he should probably be blamed for, basically, the current stuff happened in this movie. Which, by the way, Meryl, who's actually hit Vosh a couple times in the main series, never hits him. I don't think they even touch at all, which is kind of weird. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so pretty much, like, they get to the shootout in the canyon. That's when Vosh shows up again. And I had noticed, though, that his gun looks completely different than it did in the main series. If this is basically supposed to take place between 10 and 12, why does this gun look like the way it did back in episode 1? Or at least when it was last had that look back in episode 3 of the series. That was when they had the remodel of the gun. Yeah, why they went back to this look is never explained. Also, apparently there's English words on it, probably because of the dubbing. Yeah, why the gun was changed is never really, like, the look of this gun looks completely different than it did in the main series. I mean, the back of the gun looks fine. It's the barrel. I'm like, why does this barrel look different? Why does it look like the way it did at the start of the series? Yeah, this something is basically inconsistent, basically, when they claim it's supposed to take place. Yep, and let's see, what else? Oh yeah, and then eventually, like, they have basically a dime, probably the same dime that somehow that Gasback kept for 20 years. Somehow he never got rid of it. So he tossed up, basically turned the shit up without damaging the light bulb that's there. And he does basically shoot him. It's like shoot him in the leg, arm, doesn't kill him. And he activates the special ability of his arm gauntlet. And then Millie basically activates her own gauntlet, which apparently that was given to her by her mother, and her mother basically got it from Gasback. Now, was this thing cause of her death? Nope. Actually, what caused her death was never really explained. Not properly, anyways. It's like after she apparently had association with him. It's implied Gasback might be her father, but it's implied that's what the case. That Gasback is her father, but it's never followed upon. Also, that Amelia is a spitting image of her mother. Yep. And apparently Gasback does not put two and two. Now, he does put two and two together that Amelia is the daughter of the woman he basically gave this gauntlet to. Doesn't put together the fact that possibly this woman could be his daughter. Yet. Eventually, he's taken into custody, and the light bulb's taken back, everything's back normal. Oh, yeah, and because the fact that the criminal was the one from the flashback, who was revealed to be the rich guy who was trying to get money from the insurance agency. Yeah, because of the fact he's losing alias, he was arrested along with his group, along with Gasback's current goons. Yeah, and also that the rich guy, I think his name Kepler, him along with his two other cronies, they're put on pretty much like IVs because they got severely beaten by Gasback. And they drive off and apparently Amelia basically follows him for a bit during the credits, and that's where they reveal the whole thing about basically that Gaspic is kind of responsible for her existence. Yep, and then apparently it's revealed that she gave the money to the town, probably so they can fix the plant. That's my guess. And then we see Vash and Wolfwood just walk into the desert. I'm like, now here's the thing. Wolfwood later on got himself a freaking motorcycle. And then of course he comes across like a newspaper article that probably leads into the events of, probably not probably leads into sometime later. But yeah, the paper just comes out and flies in his face, which is typical Western stuff. Yep. But I gotta say, this movie is actually really good. I would say the only dumb thing about this movie is basically explaining what actually caused Amelia's mother's death. Yeah, what actually really caused her death. Yeah. Aside from that, the movie is actually really good. I think the voice acting did a fantastic job. I'm still wondering, with the exception of Voss, why the heck they changed the rest of the dubcast for? Yeah, I would like to know the reasoning for that. But I'm hoping when I get a chance to meet Lucia Christian in a couple months at Comic-Con, I'm going to ask that question. Basically, what was wrong with the original dubcast? I mean, with the exception of Johnny and Bosch, like I said, the other three characters got replaced for no reason at all. They just did. They, at least in the case of Meryl and Millie, despite the fact that voice actors were replaced, at least they acted like the characters from the series. Wolfwood, if one can tell, Brett Hawkins did a pretty good job of kind of acting like the way they do in the series. Also, Millie's gun is in the movie, but never uses it. Nope. Oh, in case you're wondering now, Meryl keeps a bunch of guns under her coat. Now, here's kind of the thing. Why she doesn't really do much of anything, because she really doesn't. That's basically how Naito wrote her, where she very rarely does a lot of anything to affect the plot. She's there to witness the stuff. Yep. But yeah, that's it for this particular review. This movie was actually really damn good. Yeah, so I'm going to do my final thoughts next, and then I'm also still going to do my review for My Hero Academia, and hopefully my first power review for Inuyasha today. Okay? But these next few. Bye.